Have you ever wondered, did Adam and Eve have more children than Cain, Abel, and Seth? Why do ancient scrolls hint at daughters who shaped entire civilizations, yet the Bible remains silent about them? Could one of these forgotten daughters have given birth to nations we don't even realize came from Eden's first family? And what if their existence explains mysteries that historians still cannot solve? For centuries, most people believed Adam and Eve only had 3 famous sons. But ancient traditions, hidden in Jewish Midrash, Islamic Tafsir, and old apocryphal writings, speak of something far stranger, daughters whose names were whispered but never fully told. Some texts claim that for every son born, a daughter came with him. Meaning Cain was not born alone, he had a twin sister. Abel too. And these sisters weren't forgotten in their time, they were the very first women of humanity after Eve. But here's where the mystery deepens. Certain sources suggest that these daughters were not merely wives for their brothers. They were explorers, leaving Eden's surroundings to settle in distant lands. Imagine, while Cain was cursed to wander, could one of Adam's daughters have founded a tribe far away, cut off from her family's shame? Even more astonishing is a story preserved in old Arabic texts. One daughter, named Awan, was said to be Cain's twin, and possibly his wife. Another, Luluwa, was linked to Abel. But what if there were more, names we never learned, lives erased from scripture yet carried on through legend? The silence of the Bible may not mean they didn't exist, it may mean their stories were too dangerous, too controversial to record. Because if we trace their paths, we might uncover that the roots of entire nations stretch back, not just to Adam and Eve's sons, but to their hidden daughters. And this is only the beginning. Why would ancient texts claim Cain married his own sister? Why do some legends call her the mother of the exiled? And what secrets did this union hide that scribes later tried to erase? Most people know the story of Cain killing Abel. But what they don't know is this: Cain didn't wander alone. In old traditions, his sister Awan walked with him. She was more than a companion, she was the very beginning of his cursed bloodline. Some sources even suggest that the mysterious mark of Cain wasn't only placed on him, but also upon her, branding an entire lineage. Imagine the weight of that, the very first daughter of humanity, cast away, her children forever marked by the sin of their father-brother. But the story gets darker. Ancient whispers say that Awan's children were fierce, surviving far from Eden, and some believe they became the ancestors of tribes feared in the ancient world. Their existence might explain why so many early nations appear suddenly in history, with no clear origin. Meanwhile, Abel's twin sister, Luluwa, was said to be promised to him. Some writings even claim this rivalry is what fueled Cain's rage, he wanted her for himself. If that's true, then Abel didn't just die over jealousy of sacrifice, but over the love of a sister wife. A hidden detail that flips the entire story upside down. The silence in scripture about these daughters suddenly makes sense. To record their names would expose humanity's first tangled web of love, rivalry, and exile. It would reveal that the world's earliest families weren't pure, they were already broken. And yet, the daughter's story does not end here. Because while Cain wandered cursed, Seth, the third son, was given another sister. And her role in history may be even greater than all the rest. Why did ancient texts call Seth's twin sister the chosen one? What made her different from the daughters tied to Cain and Abel? And could her bloodline be the true origin of humanity as we know it today? When Abel was gone and Cain cursed, Eve bore another son, Seth. But forgotten in most retellings is the mention of his twin sister, often called Ahura in hidden manuscripts. Unlike Awen or Luluwa, Ahura's destiny wasn't tied to rivalry or exile. Instead, she became the wife of Seth, and their union was described as pure compared to Cain's cursed line. Some traditions insist it was through Seth and Ahura that the righteous seed of humanity continued. This wasn't just about survival, it was about legacy. In fact, old Jewish writings claim every prophet, from Noah to Abraham, traced their bloodline back to Seth and Ahura. That means the entire foundation of biblical history rests not only on a son, but on a daughter almost no one remembers. But the mystery doesn't end there. In certain Arabic and Ethiopian traditions, Ahura was seen as a keeper of secret knowledge, whispers of the language spoken in Eden, passed from Eve to her daughter. If true, it means that the last echoes of paradise weren't preserved by Adam or Seth, but by a forgotten woman. This flips the narrative. While Cain's line spread in darkness, Ahura's line carried light. She was not erased because she was unimportant, she was erased because her influence was too great. To write her into history would have meant admitting that humanity's survival was shaped not only by the fathers of nations, but by the hidden mothers. And yet, the story of Adam and Eve's daughters stretches further still. Some legends claim there were far more daughters, spread across unknown lands, whose descendants might still walk among us today. What happened to the other daughters of Adam and Eve, the ones whose names we'll never know? Why do fragments of their stories appear in ancient myths all over the world? And could forgotten bloodlines of Eden still flow through people alive today? Most people assume humanity expanded only through the famous sons. But fragments of lost manuscripts suggest Adam and Eve may have had dozens of children, many of them daughters. Some traveled far from the cradle of Eden, marrying into tribes that historians cannot trace. Ancient cultures, from Mesopotamia to Africa to even distant Asia, preserve myths of heaven-born women who arrived from the east, bringing knowledge of farming, fire, and healing. Could these be echoes of Adam's daughters, scattered and absorbed into new nations? One shocking detail comes from Jewish Midrash. It hints that Eve gave birth to 33 sons and 23 daughters. If that's true, most of humanity may not come from Cain, Abel, or Seth at all, but from forgotten daughters whose names were erased. Why erase them? Because their marriages broke boundaries. Cain's line mingled with his sister Awen, Abel was tied to Luluwa, and Seth with Ahura. But the other daughters? They may have married outsiders, beings the texts call the sons of God or simply men from beyond Eden's borders. Their children became powerful, strange, and in some stories, dangerous. This could explain why so many ancient civilizations tell of women who are descended from the first mother but are never linked to a father. Perhaps the daughters of Eve became those mysterious figures, the matriarchs of nations, both feared and revered. But if so, then one question remains: where did those hidden lines lead, and why did history bury them? The answer lies in the final piece of the story. Why did the world's oldest stories erase the daughters of the first family? What truth was so dangerous that scribes chose silence over memory? And could it be that without them, humanity itself would not exist? Across centuries, we've been told that Adam and Eve gave birth to a line of famous sons. But hidden in dusty scrolls and whispered traditions, a different picture emerges. Humanity was shaped as much by forgotten daughters as by their brothers. Awen, cursed beside Cain. Luluwa, the sister who fueled deadly rivalry. Ahura, the mother of prophets. And dozens more, scattered across the earth, blending into nations that no historian can trace. The silence of Scripture was not an accident, it was protection. To write their stories openly would have revealed a truth that challenged the purity of early mankind. These daughters married brothers, yes, but also strangers, wanderers, and maybe even the mysterious sons of God. Their children were not just human, they became rulers, heroes, and legends. Some were feared as giants. Others revered as goddesses. Yet all were daughters of Eve. Think of what this means: every nation, every people, carries a hidden thread leading back to women whose names we'll never know. Their blood runs in us, their choices echo in our history. The very survival of humanity depended on them, yet history erased them. Maybe that is the final secret. The story of Adam and Eve was never only about two sons and a garden. It was about a family larger, messier, and more mysterious than we've ever been told. And if even the first daughters could be forgotten, what other truths of our past still lie buried in silence? If this story made you question what you thought you knew about the beginning of humanity, then don't let it end here. Hit the like button, subscribe for more hidden histories, and share your own thoughts in the comments. Who knows, your idea might reveal the next untold chapter we uncover together.